It's time for another Stephen King flick, baby. It's fucking October, so you know that we're gonna squirt out another one.
That's like a flick.
Well, I don't know. It's a thing I do. Yeah, man. Last October they released a Stephen King flick, and by they I mean Netflix, by the way. And so we might as well have expected another one. And lo and behold, that's what we got. This time it's In the Tall Grass. In the Tall Grass is actually based on a novella, not only by King, also by his son Joe Hill. They co-wrote it, and they're peas in a pod. Those, now with Stephen King's shit or hit, we take into account two things: is it a good adaptation? Yes or no, and is it a good movie on its own? Yes or no. So yes, this is based on a novella, and the novella is a pretty straightforward and linear, pseudo-Lovecraftian, albeit subtly, tale. And by pseudo-Lovecraftian, I know some people are going to be like, well, where them Cthulhu's at, homeboy?
Yeah, dude, I'm not in it.
Yeah. What I mean by that is that the tale owes quite a lot to Color Out of Space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting because the story kind of borrows not only from H.P. Lovecraft's Color Out of Space, but from Stephen King himself, with the stories Weeds and Children Out of Corn kind of being mishmashed into Color Out of Space. Did I say Children Out of Corn?
Yes, you did.
Children of the Corn mishmashed into the concept of Color Out of Space. And that's kind of what In the Tall Grass is.
King be ripping himself off now.
Interestingly enough, I also noticed elements of the book / the movie The Ruins in there, which is interesting. And I say that I noticed that not only when reading it, but it's interesting to note because that's one of Stephen King's favorite movies.
Oh,
so,
shit!
Yeah, it's interesting, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with homage at all. I'm just saying that those elements exist, but they've made something distinctly their own. It's very King. It's very Hill.
What you're saying here is Stephen King is a hack.
No, I'm saying
Ahab hates.
I'm saying if this was somebody else, as in not Stephen King, they would have accused him of being a hack. But since it's Stephen King, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's homaging," and I agree, he is homaging. But so are most other people, unless they're hacks. Anyway, In the Tall Grass, as I said, the story is pretty straightforward. It's about this brother and sister that get. It's basically like a wrong turn element, They get lured into this wide, vast field of grass under the assumption that there's somebody lost in it. And as it turns out, there's something much more sinister going on with this grass, quote unquote. Hint, it's not just grass.
Spoiler, spooky rock.
Spooky rocks. Yeah, man. So the story, again, very straightforward and linear. The movie, on the other hand, starts pretty much as the story goes. But there's at one point where all of a sudden it becomes this bizarro, mind-melting, hallucinatory kind of descent into... I don't know, man, like time-bending weirdness.
Yeah. They were definitely doing the time warp again.
They were, man. And so this is either going to make it or break it for people that liked the novella. It kind of takes you off guard if you read the novella. It's going to be like, what the fuck? Of course, most people haven't read the novella. So I'm interested to see what somebody that hasn't read the novella thought of it as it is.
We say I'm illiterate?
Yes.
It's true. I liked it. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. But I thought it was pretty well put together, the weird parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like they hint at them pretty early on. It's not perfect.
Right.
But I did enjoy it. And I liked being kind of like lost for a long time.
A very adequate word there, because at times this reminded me of like the overwhelming intent for Lost, the show. Coincidentally, also one of Stephen King's favorite shows.
Yeah, stealing.
There was a point where I was like, this better not be some sort of fucking,
Limbo?
purgatory limbo thing, because it does give you that illusion at one point. Thankfully, they went back to the source material. And you're right, that's my exact reaction to it, and I have read the novella. In fact, I read it right before. Reason, it was an audiobook, and I just didn't have a physical copy of it. So I found one. I read it right before. And usually that's a big fucking... If you read something right before a movie, you're in for a fucking unhappy time.
Yeah.
You know, because all you'll be thinking is how it didn't fit in.
Yeah.
Even someone like me that's like cool about changes, it's hard. It's hard to get your mind to relax and go, all right. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? This was such a strange route that it took, and it handled it, yes, pun intended, it handled it quite deftly. There was some disorienting moments, but again, they're intended to be so, and it's kind of fun to be lost sometimes. Now, like you, I agree that it never really fully concretely makes sense at the end.
Yeah.
Unlike something like Hereditary, for example, which intentionally loses you at points, it all makes sense at the end. This one was kind of like, it makes sense until you kind of think about it. It's kind of like a time travel movie. It doesn't make sense. But here's the thing. The sheer fact that there's a Lovecraftian conceit involved in this allows you to let it make sense in your mind, you know? The way they portray the enemy entity in the movie is more like a something out of time and space. Very Lovecraftian, by the way. Versus in the novella, which is very concretely physical. So this weird illusory route it takes makes kind of like a lot more sense in the movie, given the influences of the piece, than in the book. So that's kind of cool in that respect. So yeah, I actually quite enjoyed it.
I was kind of worried, like within the first 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess once the first loop completes,
right?
You know what I mean. If you've seen it, if not, stop watching this video because it's not gonna make a lot of sense. But anyway, I was kind of worried that how they were gonna continue the movie. You know, just because it's one of those things where while you're looking at it, while you're seeing it, you're like, how is this gonna last an hour and a half? You know what I mean? But they actually find pretty cool ways to do it, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, much like the book or the novella kind of kept itself going by withholding certain information. This one did the same thing, only with this kind of storytelling conceit that, you know, it would do it in terms of each subsequent turn of events. Now, I say I like this movie. You say you like this movie. If you've read the book, it might be an issue for you if you haven't. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So go check it out, because right now we're going to start spoilery stuff. And or if you don't care, just stick around. Or if you already checked it out, then fuck it. Stick around still.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this little thing. The element in the field, the entity in the field, yes, as you said earlier, is basically a huge rock. But it's not as simple as that. This monolithic structure is essentially some sort of, you know, extraterrestrial thing, you know, being really, that has landed in this field ages ago, and it's rooted itself into it literally, and by extension of itself, the grass, or the titular grass, is a part of it and is essentially alive. The way the movie presents this is kind of like the grass must not only, or I should say the entity must not only feed itself, but it perpetually feeds itself.
Yeah.
And the way it's presented in the book is a bit different, in the sense that it constantly needs feeding, yes, but not perpetually on those that exist within it already. It's more like once it feeds, it could use those people, to keep itself going. So that's a major difference, because in the movie that leads to them basically playing with the idea of space and time. Characters that have already died appear again, and they create these time loops, and honestly, it does get confusing.
It's like Groundhog Day, only spooky
and confusing.
Confusing.
It is confusing, and I don't think honestly they knew exactly how to iron every wrinkle out.
Yeah.
But the way they do resolve it is satisfying, And again, the whole idea of this thing being cosmic level out of time, yet in our existence plane of existence, is pretty much more Lovecraftian than what was offered in the book. So that's kind of cool. You know, they leaned heavy into it, and thus allowed themselves to play with this kind of weird mind bending structure. Which, hey, it worked, man. I also like the new character they introduced into this. The titular.
Grass?
I'm sorry, the lead girl's. I forgot her fucking name, man. The lead girl's boyfriend, Travis. He's just mentioned cursorily in the book or in the novella. I keep saying book, it's novella. And here he's introduced kind of as the lead, basically.
Yeah.
And using that, they allowed the viewer a peek into a broader spectrum in terms of the events, the characters, and the points of view. They also used this little kid that's in the book in a different way. You know, a little kid in the book is pretty much evil from the get-go. He's already touched the fucking rock. He's already under the influence of the grass. This motherfucker is straight up evil. Here in the movie, he's kind of like your secondary hero character, which is pretty cool. I actually like that. I like that I didn't know. There's something to be said about an adaptation that's extremely loyal. Sometimes that can be good. Sometimes that can be bad. But there's also something to be said about an adaptation that just kind of takes you through the loop and yet at the end still satisfies you as a reader. So this is one of those where it started off like, all right, they're going to be loyal to this. And then I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? And then the elements they introduced into it, there's all this weird, you know, the whole insinuation of worship and cults in the book is very light. It's there and it's creepy. And it did leave me wanting more. This, they really lean into that idea, but not explicitly stating, you know, there's people over here. It's more like it's perpetuating its own cult within itself. It's really weird. It's spacey, and the visuals that they use to communicate these ideas increasingly get stranger, but not to the point of being like, I don't know, Lynchian or, you know, like something out of Jodorowsky or some shit like that.
There's no paddle babies.
There's no paddle babies in it, but it is strange and disorienting enough to keep you going, huh? Very interesting. So give me something you liked or disliked about this fucking thing, man. By the way, lead actress, rip off Lea Michele, yes or no?
No way.
You gotta fucking see it, dude. No, rip off Lea Michele. Rip off Lea Michele.
I question.
Fight me.
For someone who has such high artistic skill, I question your eyes sometimes.
Dude, you gotta rewatch it. About halfway in, I was like hold up. That's what I said. It's rip off Lea Michele. I didn't say it was Lea Michele looking.
That's like,
rip off.
That's like straight up Gran Mercado freaking Lea Michele. Dude.
Anyway, getting off the
Chinese
point.
bootleg.
Point is your eyes suck, clearly. But anyway, give me something you hate or like.
I like I like the disorienting style.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it doesn't really have a structure. It's just kind of going.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Patrick Wilson got a job.
Patrick Wilson, the guy that you claimed, admittedly, we both claim that we would like to be our dad, not in a gay way. Don't want to be writing him and saying thanks, daddy. Not that way.
What the hell, dude?
Here playing a dad that you don't want as yours, admittedly.
I mean,
but we're all happy that he gets jobs.
He was singing a little CCR.
True, that's a good point. The point is, Patrick Wilson got a job.
Patrick Wilson got a job, looking very fatherly in this one, but unfortunately he's evil.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing. I like some of the weird kind of like, I don't know how to say it, imagery, I guess.
Yeah, they found a very visual way to communicate the cosmic nature of the events and the being, aka the rock thing. They found a weird visual way to do it, and it kind of reminded me of The Void at the end of The Void, how heavily they leaned into visuals to communicate ideas. And you're either gonna like that or you're not, because some of those ideas are like not that they're like super smart or anything. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's just that they're beyond the capacity to just comprehend immediately.
Yeah, they don't really tell you.
Yeah,
It's just
some stuff you got to chew on for a while, and even then, it might not be something you grasp entirely, or it might just get more disturbing the more you don't grasp it. And this movie kind of just rides with that. Says, you maybe don't have to get everything. And yeah, I agree, man. That visual lean was pretty cool. I dig.
Yeah.
Some of the effects on this are pretty cool. I did think they dropped the ball a little bit in the scene that in the book it's pretty repulsive and disturbing. Again, since we're in the spoilery section, somebody eats a baby.
Yeah.
Basically, a mother eats her baby, and it's incredibly disturbing in the book the way it's laid out. Here, I didn't feel that so much, but I don't know. Maybe it's just that I had read a superior. It's kind of like with Inglourious Bastards with Quentin Tarantino. When I read the script, that first section with the interrogation at the beginning at the house, at the French house, was so fucking well written. Now, when I first saw that section in the theater, I was super let down.
Oh, shit.
Mind you, I love the movie, and in subsequent viewings, I mean, I love it. But yeah, so maybe it's that. I don't know. Was that unsettling at all to you, or was it just a thing that happened?
It was more the idea.
Yeah.
Really, the way it was shown, it was like, okay, I get it.
It's a pretty visceral scene in the book, but to be fair, in the book, it's kind of like the concluding part of the main two characters' storyline. So it had to be like this big punchy thing. So there, we have to consider that too. Yeah, the actors across the board. Anybody you didn't like? I gotta give special props to that kid. He was pretty good. Whenever you get a kid that doesn't blow ass in a movie,
I was gonna say,
cool.
I think the weakest one was the little kid.
Yeah, but he didn't suck balls. Is my point.
Yeah, I think towards the end he kind of won me over. I was a little iffy about him at first, but he was all right. That little kid can hang out with me.
I'm gonna just cut that and paste it on your channel. Just you saying that. Yeah, that's right. That's how technology works, right? Anyway, now you know why I don't edit anything.
You decoupage it onto my channel?
That's how I work.
Yeah.
It's my decoupaging move. Hope you like it.
It's not good.
Yeah, man. I thought the actors across the board were pretty good. Of course, Patrick Wilson's is going to be, acting daddy.
My boy.
And so he never fails.
No.
I did, again, going into it not knowing how they were going to alter it, and knowing that Patrick Wilson was in, I was like, it's going to be Russ? Damn, he's going to be dead right away. Turns out not the case.
Nah, he's like the little killer guy for most of it.
The influence of the being, I don't even know what to call this thing. It's a fucking rock for crap's sake.
It's was it horse apple?
Yeah, it's usually it's in the book, and here it's usually portrayed mostly through Patrick Wilson, and he plays it well, man, because he has to kind of play both sides. And in the book, his character is not as persuasive as he is in the movie. He's pretty fucking like, why are you following this guy? Material, like, serious dude, this guy's literally licking his chops.
They used Pat Will's dad-like draw to full potential.
So that's good though, because if somebody's literally somebody, if you're watching a movie and there's somebody that literally you want to yell at the screen, why are you following that guy?
Well,
then that would have taken some of the credibility out of it. But he plays it pretty well, pretty credibly up to that point. Then even as the tables begin to turn, if you will, he's still kind of trying to play both sides.
So he always comes out on top.
Yes,
Max style.
Or if you're reading into that subtext, you're the bottom, he's the top.
Yeah, it's true. Power bottom.
Yeah. God. Anyway, yeah, man. So the cast was all great. The visuals in this movie are pretty impressive at times. There's this particular section where the kind of fullness of the entity is revealed to one of the characters. That was pretty fucking rad, for lack of better words. That's right. I went all the way back to the 80s for that shit.
Yeah.
I like that, man. That was like some visual oomph that I can partake of.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's elements like that I tell you that kind of remind me of that, the Void, where it leaned into
Yeah.
visuals to say certain things. So
Not to like that extreme.
no,
but
of
yeah.
course not. But at the right moment,
Yeah,
shall we say?
for like 90% of this movie, you're just gonna be looking at grass.
Lots and lots of grass. That was another concern. How are they going to make this grass feel menacing? Did you think they achieved that?
Yeah, it was pretty menacing grass,
Dude,
I would
when
be
it was
scared.
all fucking happy that people were getting killed
and then they
shit.
get like all stiff.
Oh, dude, that motherfucking grass posted up
Hell
for their
yeah, dude.
boy. They're like, "What? You turned in Patrick
Yeah.
Wilson, bitch?
He's
We're
our
about
daddy.
to get you." Yeah, motherfuckers were ready, like tying off their hands and shit, passing shanks among themselves.
Corn? They're made of corn.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was really good the way they actually, made this thing feel menacing.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned the ruins and the obvious influence, or at least partially it had, in some part with this picture and the story. The movie The Ruins, spoiler, I just ruined The Ruins for you.
Yeah, you
It's
did.
the plants.
It's like The Happening.
Yes, only,
Not bad.
not bad.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, The Ruins, in my opinion, Stephen King loves the shit out of his top 20 movies, according to him. I don't think it's top 100, but it
Damn.
is a movie that I like.
Top 500?
The book is fucking fantastic. Oh, man, that's such a good book. And that's partially the reason I think the movie kind of doesn't suck. But I did the first time I saw it, The Ruins. But the second time I was like, you know what, I kind of like this. It's just, it does have faults. But the book really translated the menace of these beings, these fucking flowers and plants and shit. And they give them properties that made them, almost anthropomorphic. Not in terms of body, but in terms of behavior.
Oh, I was about to say.
So there was a weird, always present menace to them, and that's something that isn't, it doesn't communicate very well in the movie, admittedly. These fellas had kind of the same issue. We have to communicate an air of menace with fucking plants,
Some stanky ass grass.
and they do it. The only way they could have upped the ante even more is to make it feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they did.
No.
But I'm not saying that to the detriment of the movie.
No.
I just think that if they added that element to it, holy shit, this would have been even.
It still has that very like it gives you that kind of feeling like, oh, just get out of these damn woods.
Yeah, but it's never like
grass.
It doesn't give you anxiety of like the closeness of.
Yeah.
But if they would have achieved that on top of what they did, it would have been like the extra, cherry on the sundae. But as it is, fantastic effect.
Yeah.
Just amazing, and yeah, like you said, some of the movements communicate so much. That's astonishing to me, man. It's fucking a stalk of big ass grass. You know what I'm saying? Like 7-foot grass, for crap's sakes. So kudos.
I also gotta say, my boy Doggy got out.
Yeah, little doggy. Well, really, he was being used. He didn't get out, dude. He's still in there.
Well,
He's dead.
That's a good point.
Dog's dead as fuck.
Dude, I was just trying to freaking bring him back.
So if you hate movies where dogs die
Yes, you do.
twice,
You do
same dog.
You do get to see him die
Yeah.
multiple times.
And then used
Damn.
as a puppet.
But he got out.
Yeah, but it was all an illusion.
I don't care. He got out, dude.
He's dead.
Anyway, in my mind, he got out, and he's
Still,
like driving that
still
little
less
car.
cruel than the dog's purpose.
That's a good point.
Yeah, man. What'd you think of the resolution at the end there? Satisfactory? Not satisfactory? Where you at with that? This is the one that depends on whether you're going to allow this movie to tell you that this thing, or suggest to you that this is all happening kind of out of time,
Yeah, because if
or not. If you're not willing to accept that, then it just will not make sense.
yeah,
How did that happen?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you do think about it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of all for it. It does raise some questions, but it was fine. I liked it. It was just when you think about it, you're kind of like, what?
Honestly, I think this movie would have benefited a lot more from an unhappy ending, and I think that's kind of what led to its kind of floppy ending. You know, it feels a little, a little weak sauce in terms of you didn't have to save these people. You know what I'm saying? This is a pressing, kind of like omnipresent, weird Lovecraftian menace you got here. You don't have to let the people live.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was by creator's choice or studio pressure that they whatever it was, they decided to let them live, or certain characters live. And
my boy Travis was the one that should have lived.
Or the dog, apparently.
Or the dog. The dog lived, damn it.
But see, that's kind of what makes it satisfying. Travis dying, it's a self-sacrificial death.
Yeah, that's
or
why
not
I'm
death,
okay
but
with it. Yeah.
perpetual self-damnation, if you will.
Yeah.
So that kind of saves that ending.
Yeah.
However, I would have preferred a more, dour, sour ending. Because, there's a little Lovecraftian action going on here. Give it a little, I don't know, apocalypse, insinuation. So anyway,
yeah.
But I still like the ending.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed what they what it offered. It just does, like you say, raise up like a gazillion questions.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So anyway, anything else you got to add before we give this a final score and declare it a hit or shit?
Yeah, that dog lived. He's in Seattle right now.
Hashtag dead dog.
That family freaking adopted him.
Hashtag super dead dog.
He's not rotting.
Hashtag rotting dog.
Damn it. Dean Ray would have lived. Dean Ray would have made him live.
Oh, for sure. But King's not Ding Ray.
That's
right. Ding Ray.
Ding Ray. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Score. Give me a score on a scale 1 to 10. Again, relevant to films of its ilk.
I dug the feel of it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, the ending's a little confusing, or not confusing, but it raises up questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was fine. Patrick Wilson's cool. CCR's at the end. I'll give it a like a 7.5, possibly an 8 on a good day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, this kind of surprised me. I was kind of afraid of how they were going to do it, because technically you could have just adapted the story with adding very little to it and just made this weird kind of like, anxiety-ridden, mystery-laden thing in a fucking field. They added something completely bigger, I don't want to say different, but sort of different, to the mix that allowed them to, expand it beyond its normal limits. That was really interesting. And yes, some of the concepts here pleased the Lovecraft fan in me, the King fan in me. And there's all that and a bag of chips. And there are some Kingisms in here. Like, those characters say weird shit that you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
So some white people from the New England shit,
Them little rhymes were kind of corny.
So, just they kept that in there.
Yeah.
It's in the story. It's in there, too. But yeah, very entertaining. I have a feeling I'll like it even more progressively as I watch it, but I like it quite a bit now, so that's a thing. Kind of impressed with some of the things they achieved here. I'm gonna give it a 7 just because people should have died. You know what I'm saying?
Damn it. They died like 10 grillion times.
That's true, but still, you know what I'm saying? People got to die, yo.
It would have just been another cycle.
I'll be fine. I'll give it a 7.5, there. But still, people got to die. Anyway, I guess we have to declare this one a hit, right?
Yeah, I'll give it a hit. Can't wait till Netflix doesn't release it on Blu-ray.
Dude, they got to start. I mean, they're releasing House on, what's it called? The Haunting of Hill House, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, that's even worse. They just freaking pick and choose which ones get releases. It sucks.
I know. Something, though.
When Disney inevitably destroys them, all that shit's going to be gone.
Well, I'm sure they'll, continue to make money off of selling those rights off or something. Or just hopefully, trying to make it themselves. Anyway. Now I'm just depressed.
Yeah.
The point is, this is a hit. You heard it here first, and or last, and or never. The point is, hit like, share, subscribe, and those notifications for more of this and other ridiculous nonsense. Because we're out.